This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1 ounce 39 millimeter coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com.
You're supposed to be at work 8 a.m. You're going to be there. If you work in a restaurant and your boss tells you to take out the trash, you're going to take out the trash. But when you tell yourself that you're going to start a YouTube channel on Friday, or when you tell yourself you're going to pivot in another direction and you don't, why? There's a lack of respect for yourself, and you have to get to the root of that. You have to show up for yourself. You have to put your foot on the gas and go. The drive doesn't come first. You put your foot on the gas and then you create momentum.
When you are struggling and you start thinking about giving up, I want you to remember the power of hope. The belief that something better is always possible if you're willing to work for it and fight for it. Our hope that if we work hard enough and believe in ourselves, then we can be whatever we dream, regardless of the limitations that others may place on us. The hope that when people see us for who we truly are, maybe, just maybe, they too will be inspired to rise to their best possible selves.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself.
Yes, sir.
So the challenge is an education that enlivens us to do business. Business is the activity of life itself. Every creature is born with the inherent ability to attract out of this material earth what it needs to perpetuate its species.
Greetings. Just a little motivation for y'all before we got started today. So welcome. welcome. Come on in the room. I'm excited to have you all here. Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Welcome to week 18 of the MOEToday, or the Mind of an Entrepreneur Today series on manifestation, based upon the book written by Charles F. Hannell called The Master Key System. I know a lot of y'all thought that because I got this big event tomorrow that I wasn't going to do the show tonight, but I just felt like we needed it. You know, it's in times like this when we on the battlefield, we right in the thick of it, that we need a little motivation. We need a little quick tweaking on our manifestation. So this series, as many of you know, is an extension of my brand, The Mind of an Entrepreneur Today, or MOEToday for short. And I developed this series back in 2011 and made it a part of my weekly radio broadcast. It became the foundation for the second half of the Mind of an Entrepreneur book. And so instead of publishing it as a book, I decided to recreate the series. So the Mind of an Entrepreneur brand of products and services explores mental strategies and offers free game on how to navigate the world of business. I offer a very unique approach to business that combines traditional disciplines with consciousness. Did y'all hear what I said? Traditional business disciplines with consciousness. I'm an international businesswoman, an industry disruptor, global thought leader, philanthropist, and master business and real estate developer. But what's most important is that I am striving to become a God and a powerful manifestor so that I can help more people, so that I can help you all become happier, healthier, wealthier, and to experience more love. I want to make doing for self infectious, and I want to see people around me who are a part of this network just making millions and millions and millions of dollars and having millions and millions and millions more options and helping millions and millions and millions more people. So welcome to the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Be sure to go give us a review, especially if you like it. We got some fantastic shows on here. We've got the MOEToday series on Black Muslim businesses. If you missed this past Wednesday, you got to go back and check it out. We had an incredible conversation with Magnolia Crescent Wineries, and we got deep off into some stuff that y'all probably didn't expect. So MOEToday, or Mind of an Entrepreneur, is a brand that I developed back in 2009. The MOEToday series on Black Muslim businesses is about highlighting individual businesses. And we're a new emerging market. Y'all heard of emerging markets, right? Somebody put in the chat, Black Muslim businesses are a new emerging market. We're an emerging market of entrepreneurs who understand the importance of unity and introducing much needed goods and services into our community. We are Black Muslims who are responding to an instruction given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to do for self. And doing for self means that we begin to own and monetize our own future and our own circumstances. We no longer beg other people to do for us what we can do for ourselves. Then we have the Sajdah, Saturday Morning Coffee Talk, where we talk about life, love, and business. And this show is an extension of my brand, The Authentic You. It's all about discovering and monetizing your own authenticity. It's fine-tuning the top energy levels needed in order for us to live an authentic life. And let me tell you something. If you want to start vibrating on another level, you got to start listening to stuff that puts you on that level. You got to start talking to people and having conversations about things that put you on the level that you want to be on. And so Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks is just one of those things. It's spirituality, it's love, it's life, it's business, it's family, it's money. Then there's the MOEToday series on manifestation, which is where you are right now. I set out on a mission back in 2005 to become a powerful manifester. I didn't want to be that person who says they're going to do something and then they don't do it. I wanted to manifest on a powerful, life-changing level. And I've been blessed to manifest and to accomplish on a massive scale. And with each accomplishment, and this is true for all of us, with each and every accomplishment, there is a change in your certainty levels. That's why I tell you all to focus on micro goals, because with each accomplishment, there's a change in your certainty level. And that change in certainty brings about new levels of success. So as we move from level to level, we have to master the consciousness required in order for us to achieve on that level and move on to the next and the next and so on and so forth. So that's what this network is about. No matter where you are in life, this show, this network is for you. You can always benefit from mental strategies. And tonight we are on part 18 of the MOEToday series on manifestation. I was asking Allah before the show to bless our efforts. I just said, I just pray that our efforts are blessed. We're efforting or striving towards a lot of things. A lot of us got a lot of stuff we're working on, and just that prayer that our efforts are blessed. For example, my team and I are striving to raise funds for the renovation and restoration of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. And like many things, sometimes the haters and naysayers can have a loud and quite annoying voice. So annoying that it overpowers sometimes our efforts or our desires. Sometimes it can be consuming. But I'm asking that our efforts prevail and quiet the annoying talk. And I ask Allah that He allow our efforts to touch the hearts of others who are like-minded, that He whisper in the ear of those who would support and guide them to our event and to support financially. And I ask that He do the same for each of you as it relates to your endeavors of good. I ask that each and every one of you is blessed with more goodness and love and wealth than you've ever experienced or imagined. And as you get those rewards, just make sure you share them among your family and friends. And in whatever way that you pray, I ask that you say this prayer silently for one another right now. And then Amen. All right. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the page. I got to say that over and over again because y'all be forgetting. Before we go through the questions and answers, I want to review a few excerpts from this week's reading, which is part 18. So welcome, everyone. I see y'all in the chat starting to talk. Here's the first excerpt that I wanted to talk to us about today, or just read. In order to grow, we must obtain what is necessary for our growth. Type in the chat the word growth. If you got a notebook, write the word growth, because growth is what this chapter or this part is really all about, growth. And one of the first statements is, in order to grow, we must obtain what is necessary for our growth. A new civilization is being born. Customs, creeds, and precedents are passing. Vision, faith, and service are taking place. The fetters of tradition are being melted off from humanity. And as the impurities of materialism are being consumed, thought is being liberated. And truth is rising full-robed before an astonished multitude. Truth is rising. Type that in the chat. Truth is rising. Type that on your notebooks. Truth is rising. And if the truth is rising, then we got more food for thought and more things that we can feed upon and we can manifest on an even higher level. The whole world is on the eve of a new consciousness, a new power, and a new realization within self. It is the recognition of natural laws. This is what I want y'all to pay attention to. It is the recognition of natural laws that has enabled us to annihilate time and space, to soar in the air, and to make iron float. And the greater degree of intelligence, the greater will be our recognition of these natural laws, and the greater will be the power we can possess. Check this part out. In order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. I'm going to say that again. In order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. In order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. I don't know what y'all getting out of that, but what I think about is, if I want grass to grow, I have to have the right soil, I have to have the right seeds, I have to have the right temperature, I have to have the right conditions. So in order for us to grow, we have to obtain what is essential. What I just talked about for the grass are essential elements that must be in place in order for it to grow. So here the author is saying, in order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. Essential. But as we are at all times a complete thought entity, this completeness makes it impossible for us to receive only as we give. Makes it possible for only, let me read that again because I messed that up. Let me put this all together. Growth and essential conditions go hand in hand. You can't grow if you don't create the right conditions. in your life, in your environment. You just can't do it. So you can sit there and want to grow all you want, but if you don't create the right conditions, you won't. Then the author goes on to say, and this is the part that I misread, but as we are at all times a complete thought entity. So you are at all times an entity of thought that originated with thought. This completeness makes it possible for us to receive only as we give. Type in the chat, when you are in need, you must give. That's something that we talk about a lot. When you are in need, you must give. Growth is therefore conditioned on reciprocal action, and we find that on the mental plane, like attracts like, that mental vibrations respond only to the extent of their vibratory harmony. It is clear, therefore, that thoughts of abundance will respond only to similar thoughts. So the thought of what you want, envisioning what you want, you know how we talk about taking that emotional condition that we think we're going to experience when we get what we want and accessing that in advance. Those are conditions that we have to set up. So things just don't happen. So that's why the author is saying, if you have thoughts of abundance, I'm adding emotions of abundance and visions of abundance, then that abundance will only respond to those thoughts. The wealth of the individual is seen to be what he inherently is. So whoever you are is what you will get. Whoever you are is what you will have. Affluence within is found to be the secret of attraction for affluence without. So what are you thinking? What conversations are you having with yourself? This goes into our subject about money psychology and understanding choices and accessing opportunities. The ability to produce is found to be the real source of wealth of the individuals. We got some hackers that just love staying in our page. All right, but that's okay. We'll just keep blocking them. Okay. So the ability to produce is found to be the real source of wealth of the individual. The ability to produce. Y'all hear me say all the time that in business, you're only as good as what you can make happen. Because you got a lot of people that are in business and they just talk, or they think they in business because they talk a good game. Or a lot of us get tricked by people who we meet, who we think are in business because of how they talk. Type in the chat if you've ever been confused into thinking that a person was a producer because you got tricked by how they talk. See, that's like that pimp thing, right? Somebody talk a good game, so you think they're a producer. But in most cases, they're not. So you got to learn how to have that level of discernment. And that's why we talk about understanding how things feel inside of us. So you got to know how the truth feels. You got to know how a lie feels. So moving on, the ability to produce is found to be the real source of wealth of the individual. It is for this reason that he who has his heart in his work is certain to meet with unbounded success. He will give and continually give. And the more he or she gives, the more he or she will receive. To me, this was one of the most powerful paragraphs in this entire chapter. Sister Anissa said that has happened to me 2 or 3 times last year and lost money. Yeah, people talk a good game, but they're not producers. A lot of people talk because they can't produce, or they focus more on talking and they're just not productive. They just like to sound a certain way. They fix their accent to sound a certain way. They know how to string the right words together. They're not producers. But this part right here to me is one of the most important chapters in this book, or most important paragraphs in this book. It said the ability to produce is found to be the real source of wealth of the individual. Excuse me, you guys. It is for this reason that he who has his heart in his work is certain to meet with unbounded success. He will give and continually give, and the more he gives, the more he will receive. Attention has been held to be the distinguishing mark of genius. Anybody remember the conversation we had about learning how to pay attention and learning how to concentrate? So first we learned in the Mind of an Entrepreneur series about being productive. And then we also talked about learning to concentrate and pay attention. And then here, this great author is saying to us what we've learned in our classes and on our podcast. Attention has been held to be the distinguishing mark of genius. The cultivation of attention depends upon practice. A lot of us are not successful because we just can't pay attention. We can barely pay attention in a conversation. So we talking and we can't even let the person pay attention. We can't even let the person finish their sentence because we can't pay attention long enough to remember what we was going to say. So we jumping in and butting in because we don't know how to pay attention. We have a deficit disorder when it comes to attention. And so when we're listening to a person talk, we're just so busy having a conversation with ourselves that we don't even know what they're talking about. We couldn't tell you what they talked about to save our lives because we really didn't hear it because we were not paying attention. We were either having a big conversation with ourselves in our own head, or we were listening to respond, or we were so busy interrupting the person because we knew if we let them finish talking, we wouldn't remember what we were going to say. So this is why the author says that the cultivation of attention depends upon practice. We have to learn how to practice paying attention. And the better you can pay attention, the better you can listen, the better you can concentrate and focus, the more successful you can be. That's why it's said to be the mark of a genius. Because you get information when you listen. You don't get information when you just keep regurgitating the same thing over and over in your own head. So we got to be focused on that. We got to be disciplined with that. The incentive of attention is interest. The greater the interest, the greater the attention. The greater the attention, the greater the interest, the action, and the reaction. So you begin by paying attention. And before long, you will have aroused enough interest, and this interest will attract more attention, and this attention will produce more interest, and so on and so on. Then that's how you start rolling down that road of manifestation, because it's attention, interest, attention, interest. But if you never pay attention, or you get to points where you don't pay attention, then you're going to have to constantly keep replaying what you're supposed to be paying attention to over and over again, and you're going to waste time. It's like watching a movie, right? And you keep getting to that part, and every time you get to that part, your mind drifts off. Well, instead of it being a 60-minute movie, it might be a 2-hour movie if you got to keep replaying that. See, this practice will enable you to cultivate the power of attention. So learning to pay attention. So one of the assignments this week is to concentrate upon your power to create. Seek insight, perception. Try to find a logical basis for the faith that is inside of you. Let the thought dwell on the fact that the physical man lives and moves and has his beginning in the sustainer of all organic life and air. So and then he says these things in such flowerful and colorful language that sometimes it's a little bit hard to follow. But What he wants you to do is concentrate on your power to create, your power to perceive, and to understand the source of creation and the source of perception. And if you don't remember those sources, then you got to go back and binge on past shows or go through your notes or something like that. But I'm not going to give y'all the answer, but you got to, what he's asking you to do is concentrate on your ability to create. So how do you do that? Let's break that down a little bit. Let's see. Let's say you're creating something. Let's say you are a painter and you paint. Maybe you paint houses. Maybe you paint artwork. I don't know, but you paint. And when you get ready to paint something, there is a force that inspires you to paint what you paint. So if you decide that you're going to paint my face and you choose certain colors, you choose certain things, then there is some inspiration that caused you to want to paint that face. That's where he wants you to focus. What was that inspiration and how did you receive that inspiration? That's where you want to focus. And that's a tough place to focus, right? Because it's so easy for us to think about, okay, I'm going to think about drawing, or I'm going to think about dancing or singing, or I'm going to think about putting this business together. But to reverse engineer that and go, what is making me want to open this business? What is making me want to invent this particular product or project or whatever? And in that process, where's that inspiration come from? Some people may say, oh, well, it came from my mother, or it came from my sister, or it came from my brother. Okay. But what about your mother, sister, or brother was inspiring to you? And where did that come from? So what he's getting you to do is trace it all the way back to the nature of a thing, all the way back to the creator himself, and concentrate there. Concentrate on that ability to create. Let me know if that makes sense in the chat, because that's a little bit going into advanced focus and meditative levels, because before I told you I was going to get a little bit more advanced. He would just have us sitting there. And I think there was a point where the most complicated one that we did was we had to envision a plant growing, and not only envision the plant growing, but we had to feel the plant growing, and we had to come up out of the ground in our mind as if we were really that plant, and see the plant unfolding and opening up and blossoming and turning into a flower, and just feeling all of that. One of the great ways to do that is to watch like nature channels, where they show you like the growth of a flower and like they kind of speed it up. But what you're doing is you're not just watching the flower kind of grow up and bust out of the ground and expand. You are the flower. And so it's just teaching you to take your mind into different realms of thought. And this is one of those exercises. So it may take you a little time to get this, because the challenge is being able to pay attention, which is how he started it. Because if you go into that creative process, then you might just get stuck on, oh, I love to paint and I want to paint this red dress, or I love to whatever. You may get stuck on what you're creating, but you don't want to do that. You want to take yourself and keep going, the interest, the origin, the nature, all the way back to the creator. And then just sit with that. When you trace all of that all the way back and you get that energy of the creator, you sit there with that and just sit. Don't analyze, don't do anything, just think, just sit. So you have to really, truly pay attention in order to get to that level of meditative connection. But we can do it. And this is the kind of stuff that's going to help us to manifest on another level. So we're going to go through the Q&A here. It shouldn't take that long, and I'll try not to do too much ad-libbing. But I just want to review these and read these out loud so that you all can start to think. By now, having gone through 18 weeks of this series, you should begin to see the way you think and the way you move and the depth in which you do things change. You should be able to really see a difference there. Let me know in the chat if you see a difference there in your thinking, in your depth, in your ability to pay attention, maybe your ability to be more creative, maybe your ability to connect more with nature and things like that. This is one of those kind of things, especially when you start these meditative processes, you can really fine tune your hearing, and you'll find yourself hearing a rabbit hop across grass. It's really cool. Or you'll hear an insect rubbing their legs, or you'll hear a bird just kind of jumping around or dancing around. And you'll get these little glimpses of this, but by now you should have started to experience some of that stuff where you can connect with nature, because way at the very beginning, we did sort of these nature connective type of things. So, all right, let's start. Question number 171. These questions are written in consecutive order. And so part 18 begins with question 171. How is the difference in individual lives measured? Interesting, right? Interesting question. How is the difference in individual lives measured? It's measured by the degree of intelligence that we manifest. Wow. You know, we live in a world where the differences between people oftentimes is based on what you have or what you possess. What the author is saying here, though, is that the difference in individual lives is measured by the degree of intelligence that you manifest. And then how do you manifest intelligence? Well, we just talked about that, right? We've been learning that these last 18 parts. It's about production. That's the part, that's what you'll see. The production will be the manifestation, whatever it is that you're able to produce, whenever you're able to take something from a thought, from a concept into a physical or tangible reality. That is the beginnings of your ability to manifest. So how is the difference in individual lives measured? By the degree of intelligence which we manifest, not the degree of intelligence which you think you have. Not about how intelligent you think you are, but how much intelligence you can manifest. That's a little tweak on that. All right. Then number 172. What is the law by which the individual may control other forms of intelligence? A recognition of the self as an individualization of the universal intelligence. So we've talked about this before. What is the law by which you and I as individuals can control other forms of intelligence? Interesting, right? Well, it says that the law that you must recognize is that as an individual, you are part of a whole. And if you're part of the whole, that means you have the same ingredients of the whole. If we say that in a religious or a spiritual way, if you are a child of God, and if God is your father and you're the child, then you must be a God too. So you must have some of that same potential in you. So now that then begins you with sort of an inventory of skill sets that you can use to manifest. So you're not just limited by what you learned in school. You're not just limited by what your job pays you for. See, a lot of people place limitations on themselves based on what their salary is or what their job description is. or what somebody told them is the limitation. The sky is limited. You have infinite tools in your tool belt in order to manifest. All right, number 173. Where does the creative power originate? And the author says, in the universal. So if we said that in a more religious way, we would say, where does the creative power originate? With Allah or with God. Number 174, and let me go back to that. And that's important for us to realize, right? Because you hear people say, oh, I got a little writer's block, or I'm just not able to be creative. Well, we then have to learn how to go back to nature. We have to go back to God, go back to Allah. And then that's where the power of creativity originates. So oftentimes people will say, I took a walk and I prayed, or I just kind of went and meditated. And next thing you know, I got my creative juices back, or whatever it is that you do that you feel kind of lines you up vibrationally with God is where you have to go in order to ignite some of those creative powers. Y'all all right? Let me know in the chat if y'all okay. Number 174, how does the universal create form? So in other words, how does Allah create physical matter or form? And it says by means of the individual, which is interesting, right? You got to go back and read this chapter. What is the connecting link between the individual and the universal? Or what is the connecting link between you and God? Type that in the chat. What is the connecting link between you and God? What is the connecting link between you and the universal, or you and the universe? Whatever word you use, between you and Allah, between you and Jehovah. What is the connecting link? We talk about it all the time. The connecting link between the individual and the universal is thought. It's thought. Because remember, we talked about everything begins with a thought. We talked about going back and meditating on how the Creator created, and the creations began with a thought. All right, y'all. Number 176. What is the principle by which the means of existence is carried into effect? So what is the principle by which a means of existence is carried into effect? And it's the law of love. And we've talked about the law of love on my shows and podcasts a lot. The law of love is the means of existence. Powerful. Number 177, how is this principle brought into expression? And y'all should know this, by the law of growth. So we're going hand in hand here, right? We're starting with the thought, which harnesses the creative power. Because remember, it's all about productivity. So we start with the thought, and then we use the law of love, which is the principle by which the means of existence is carried into effect. And then how do we express the law of love? We express the law of love by the law of growth. All right. And then number 178 says, upon what condition does the law of growth depend upon? And the law of growth depends upon reciprocal action. The individual is complete at all times, and this makes it possible to receive only as we give. So as we give, we receive. This is what the law of growth is dependent upon. You can't grow if you're stingy. You know how we talk about money hates hypocrites, and how hypocrites, people who are hypocritical about money, generally don't have money? A lot of times as spiritual people, we're very hypocritical about money. We hate people with money. We hate to talk about money. We don't like dealing with money. We tell lies and say the money don't matter. But it really does matter, because you can't do what you do without the money. You see? So you need to be able to give in order to receive. You can say you don't care about it and give it all away, but you still got to be able to create that flow of motion. And I think it was on New Year's Eve where we talked about this was the motion that we want to create when it comes to manifesting. See, the law of growth is dependent upon that reciprocal action. Giving and receiving, give and receive, give and receive. You can't be stingy and petty and think that you're going to be able to grow exponentially or grow in the way in which we need each other to grow in order to change the conditions of our community and of our people. All right. Number 179. What is it that we give? When we're talking about this flow, what do we give? We give thought to something. We give thought. We give thought. We give thought. You want to show somebody how much you love them, you give them thought. That thought then can become an action, but you give. That giving begins with thought. If you're sitting up like a bump on the log and you don't think about nothing, you don't do nothing, you just let somebody else just dump into your brain. See, this is what's going on with us now in society. Somebody's always feeding us. We're never giving to the universe by thinking. We don't think on nothing. We don't ask questions about anything. I mean, a simple question like, why are the trees green? What is that? What is photosynthesis? I'm being a nerd right now, but the point that I'm making is that what do we give when we're talking about this give and receive process? We're giving thought. So when you're trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to go to the next level, you have to become creative. You got to think. You got to think, what more can I do? What more can I give in order to receive what it is that I want? So that could be simple as, what more phone calls can I make? If I need to get a certain number of sales, how many more phone calls can I make? How many more networking events can I go to? What else can I do? How many more people can I attract to myself in order to make those sales? So in other words, how much more can I give? And then you start talking about the strategy of how you give and all of that, depending on what product or service you're working on. But you have to think of yourself and how much more. You can't sit back in this mindset of entitlement. It can't be all gimme, 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 because then your growth level is going to be subjected to whatever somebody gives you. I hope y'all got this. All right, number 180 says, what do we receive? So we said, what is it that we give? We give thought. The next question is, what do we receive? We receive thought, which is substance in equilibrium and which is constantly being differentiated in form by what we think. So we give thought, we receive thought. It's the exchange of thoughts. Those thoughts at a certain point will create, what it is that those next steps, right? The how. But what we want to do is be giving. We want to be thinking. We need to lay out on a piece of paper, what more can we do? Trying to get this product off the ground. How creative can I be? Trying to get this business going. How creative can I be? Well, you got to start with a thought. You can't go, I need this business off the ground. I need to get this business off the ground. I'm mad. I want to get it started. I'm trying to get it going. What do you have written down? Where's your thoughts? Where's your thoughts on how to do it? Where's your thoughts on what it's going to look like? Where's your thoughts on how you're going to feel when it get it done? What are you giving to the universe in exchange for what it is that you say you want? I hope y'all getting this. I want to thank y'all for being with us today. I want to make sure that you all remember to show up tomorrow night at the Silver Room, 1506 East 53rd Street. Stay close to social media, because if you live out of town, you might get a special gift. But this is going to be exciting, and we're really excited about it. And we are really asking that like-minded people come together with us and help us to preserve this history, to uplift the name of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to lift his name, to preserve his history, and to really just show a force of unity behind him, to support this ecosystem that we're building. And we put it out there, given to the universe by saying this. We want to sell 1,000 of our commemorative Elijah coins. That's all we got left. We want to sell out of those. We're not asking you nothing for free, because what we're going to give you in exchange, what has already been given in exchange for what we're asking for, is life changing. So stay close. Make sure you donate. Y'all see this scrolling across the bottom, SajdahHouseDonations.com, and get your coins at SajdahHouse.com. I'm gonna put that in the chat before we go. All right, that is for your commemorative Elijah coins. All right, we are done a little early because I got a lot of stuff to go do. I didn't end as early as I thought, though. I almost went the whole hour. Anybody got any questions? Anything that you want me to talk about really quickly in the last couple of minutes? Otherwise, we're gonna get up out of here and go get ready for this incredible event we got planned for you. We got zero alcohol wine, non-alcohol wine. There was a debate happening today on whether or not the phrase non-alcoholic is correct, or no alcohol, or non-alcohol. I had a person who was a former alcoholic call me and say, you can't say non-alcoholic. And then I started looking up how some of these other zero alcohol beers market. And I said, you know what? And zero alcohol stuff. And I just said, you know what? We just going to say non-alcohol. We got these crazy people in the chat. Y'all know how they come on here and they try to sell their little stuff, but we're going to get rid of them. There we go. So they can't come back. All right. No questions from y'all today. Only just the hacker. Okay. Peace and blessings, family. We will see you all tomorrow at the Silver Room, 1506 East 53rd, for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House fundraising event that we're calling Donate and Sip. And come check out. We got a really cool pour schedule. So you'll want to get there at 5 because Magnolia Crescent Winery has a pour schedule. So they're going to be doing their non-alcohol Chardonnays. At a certain point, they're going to do their non-alcohol red wines. They're going to do their sparkling teas. We got some snacks for y'all. We got great donor packages. So you're going to get some good and cool stuff when you donate. So bring your checkbook, your credit card. We'll be able to take care of all of that right there for you. And stay close on social media if you can't fly in, drive in, walk in, or be there, because we may have a surprise for you. All right, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.